everyone, and welcome back to the Rave Social Podcast. We're so excited to have you listening in today. We have a really special guest, Camila. She is the founder and artist behind Maria Camila as a photography and videography brand focused on amplifying visibility for conscious entrepreneurs both in their image and voice. She's been a photographer for over 10 years and is known for her candid perspectives and ability to balance polished authenticity online without sacrificing her privacy. Big one. We'll be getting into that. She's based out of Scottsdale, Arizona. She serves leaders nationwide and is sought after for her approach in thought leadership with powerful visuals to build trust, selling high-ticket services and magnetize the right people into your world. I feel like this really does encompass what you do. I've been following you for years now, and yes, like I'm always just amazed by how you're so dialed in how you capture people's brands so authentically. And we're just really excited to have you on the podcast. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's so interesting hearing my introduction. I was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, it does happen. Sometimes when you're just so in your business that everything's so intuitive, but putting actually a name to things, it's like, yes, I do all of those things. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you do all of those things and you're a joy to follow. Today, we're going to be talking about why your photos are either building or breaking your high ticket sales. I'm really excited about this topic because it's so true. Like your brand has such a massive impact on the scalability, the ability to charge higher prices, all of those things. And it's so visual now because we are online and on social media. So yeah, so excited to get into that. My first question for you, I think we should just jump right in, is that you do talk about how visuals can either build or break trust for those high ticket sales. So what are you seeing in photos? Maybe this is like when you're scrolling or whatever, that immediately makes somebody look either more credible or less credible.
Oh, such a juicy question. I love it. And it totally, I will say, depends on whether you're a personal brand or your brand. But for the sake of talking to other creators or like solopreneurs, we'll speak about them in particular. But the first thing that came to mind is two things. One, because when I think of high ticket sales, and by the way, I want to specify that for some people it could be $5,000, but I'm also speaking to like $10,000 in investment that you're high ticket sales that you're selling. And when I think of being at that level, it means that I would hope that you have a process already, that there's some specificity as to why people are paying that high ticket to work with you. And if there's a specificity and uniqueness and experience in your process, then that also needs to show in your visuals. Sometimes I see people that they've had so much experience under their belt, but I'm not seeing specificity in how their images are. They're like too clean. Like I realize that they don't want to take a risk creatively. So the photo is just like the laptop and literally them working like a mug. And it's like, those are good if you're just low risk or like you're just a beginner and you're just like, to me, that says like, oh, foundations. But I do think that, which is also why even my offer is called Industry Outlier, is because you're becoming an outlier. Like I even heard a $1 million coach say once that once you get to $1 million, everybody's $1 million business starts looking different. And that's because there's so much specificity in who you are as a person. So you really want to make sure that that specificity is authentic to who you are. And I notice sometimes that there will be maybe like a woman that she's like in her 40s and she could be very nurturing and that's like her style. But then you look at her brand photos and she's posing like a fashion model. That is kind of off because it's like we want to amplify is the reason why people come to you, like your brand's strongest asset, like the warmth of who you are. So we want to go deeper in your brand shoot and pick a location that works, wardrobe that works, or like I've seen some just like over accessorized.
Yeah. I feel like that's such like people immediately go to like wanting too much because I think there is that duality of like we see all the same brand photos like in a white room with like basically nothing, whatever. And then they'll go like the other way and they want like too much.
Yeah. And then don't get me wrong. I do think accessories work if that is your personality. But all I'm thinking is the more high ticket you are, it means that means you have a process. It means that your individuality needs to shine more. That means we need to pay attention into your essence more specifically and create from there instead of like searching brand photos on Pinterest and creating a mood board from there. So I would say that's one of the biggest differences, that it could create like a ooh, are you really unique? And I also think that copywriting can only do so much to provide a unique perspective. This is where visuals can really demonstrate your individuality, where you're not competing as much with everybody else.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I feel like I can really talk about this because I do feel like it's something that like I went on my own journey with it throughout my own business. Like, you know, when I first started, I was like, I just did what I saw everyone else doing because like that's what you think you have to do when you're just new.
Behavior, and it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it is beginner behavior and it is fine. Like you're going to start somewhere, but then, you know, every time I've redone like brand photo, we'll call them brand photos. I really should invest in someone like you, but we'll call them brand photos just for the sake of the conversation. I've gotten more and more like dialed into like who I am, but it is a part of like peeling back the layers and that like visibility shield that you want to keep up and like not being afraid to be seen like how you actually are.
Yes. I love how you said layers, because there's always a new, ooh, that was so beautiful, a new layer and like a new protector that you are getting to know. The more you grow into your individuality and leadership in business, that is what we want to tap into. And it does need to feel like, ooh, I'm kind of getting the heebie-jeebies. Like it should feel like a little bit of a rush, because that's growth. Growth feels like a little rush. So I love that expression of the layers of visibility there.
Yeah, and it also feels just so much more like I get more excited. I'm like, oh yeah, like this feels so good, rather than coming from a place of like, well, I have to have more content, more photos, more whatever, so I can keep up with the content that's going out. It goes from that to being like, I'm so excited about what I'm creating for my brand and my business. And that's just like a way more fun place to be, I think.
I totally agree. And it's almost like you're also building into a new identity, you know, like in business, or honestly any kind of business, but also like in conscious and mission-led entrepreneurship, identity shifts are so profound, and they're such important markers of like more revenue growth or more visibility. And like a brand shoot is a way to start tapping into that new identity that's ready to hold more
Oh, I love that.
And even when you said that it's not just more content, it's actually like your brand should have more equity the more that you grow, versus having to do a lot of volume. There is a place for volume, but it's more about depth and individuality, kind of like, wow, that photo shoot makes sense only for that person and nobody else.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I love that you said that, because it's true too. Like when I'm coaching clients through social media, it's like when you're first starting out, it is about volume. Like it is about volume while you're figuring these things out. You're identifying the layers, you're building your business kind of from a more scrappy way in that early stage. It is about volume. Like you got to post a lot. You have to. And then once you're more established and you're able to refine and refine and refine, and then you get to this like established place where you're not chasing leads, and your social media growth doesn't directly impact your income because you have these other things working for you, then it's like even more of a refinement, like you're saying, where you can go deeper and you can be like a little bit more intentional is not the right word, but it's the word I'm going to use, about your content, and post it like less with a higher impact. Like it's just kind of one of those, it's a business like building process that most businesses have to go through. And there's no shame in it, but it does kind of go that way.
Yeah. Thank you for that observation, because I agree.
Yeah. Okay, question. For coaches and consultants selling services, maybe they're in that like 3K range. Could
Yeah.
be like, let's say 3 to 5K.
Mhm.
What visual elements are non-negotiable for building that level of trust with potential clients? Like, what do you think they need to have?
Oh my gosh, their face. Their face needs it. Like this is not the time and the place to be mysterious girl. I'm working with a dear client who's a consultant right now, but all of their brand images is about how cool they are and how mysterious. And I'm like, we gotta like show the human in you that people can ask stupid questions to. Or like, I was actually going
Yes.
somebody else's website. And I remember as soon as I got to their website, their homepage wasn't a photo of themselves. It was like photo of a plant. And then the photo of themselves. And then they also had like stock imagery that I could tell wasn't their brands. And then it was like a few layers down that then you see a photo of them. But to me, I saw that as like, it's like you invite a guest into your house and you're like back there in the kitchen, like, hi, welcome in, help yourself. Rather, there's a difference when the host comes to the front door and greets you and says, hey, welcome. Like, it just creates safety and trust and that warmth where it's because for high ticket sales, it's more than just you knowing how to solve entry level problems. It's demonstrating that you have high emotional intelligence, that you know how to work with people. So that way,
Yeah.
you, because if you look too intimidating, you're going to attract people that sure they may obey you, but they may not open up to you when they're going through the struggles. And then that also impacts, it just impacts your client results if there isn't that connection where they can really trust you. So it serves you so much to show your freaking face and be like warm, be approachable. Like we do want to have that cool, mysterious stuff, but literally just who you are client facing, that is something that needs to be easily visible.
And I feel like the mysteriousness is not a difficult thing to have in your business. So don't spend energy trying to be mysterious. You know what I mean? Like you're always going to have mysterious things about yourself and your business cuz you are like humans are multifaceted, period. So people aren't going to know everything about you no matter how much you share, really. So I just feel like having that mystery like is not something you need to worry about. More so building the trust so that people do want to open up and connect with you.
Yeah.
And I love what you said. Like, I love what you said about not opening up. Like, if you're cold, they're not going to open up to you. You're going to attract a different clientele that honestly probably isn't even going to be fun for you to work with.
Yeah. And it may turn out maybe being like too transactional in some ways. And I was actually thinking of social media as it is cold. Like that's why a lot of people struggle to convert with social media because they're already so mysterious. They're already so hard to connect with. So the more warm that you are on social media, because the default is that it's a very cold place to be. It's just technology and it's weird. So the more warm you are there, the more it creates that trust in people opening up to you about their literally clients are vulnerable when they're coming out to you, so you just want to create that safety for them to be able to open up about what's really going on, and safety in them handing you thousands of dollars to help them with whatever thing.
Because as well, like when they are able to open up to you, you're able to solve their problems on such a better level. Like if you don't know that they're going through a divorce, you're not going to be able to coach them the best way that you can. You know, there may be different structures you would have them implement into their business, different marketing strategies to help support them through something difficult like that. But if they don't feel like they can tell you, then, you know, your coaching may get them far, but it's not going to get them as far as it could.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Love that. How do you feel like people manage their privacy? Like you do a really good job of this, of like balancing the privacy with the vulnerability. Like people don't know everything about you. How do you balance that? Does it come naturally? Do you have guidelines?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. For me, I feel like I was very fortunate in my life. And like when I started my business, I actually got my branding done from the jump. A lot of people wait to get branding done later on in their business, but I guess I did have some experience under my belt, but I actually had brand strategy done before I decided to be super visible and consistent on social media with my brand. And that is truly what helped me carve out like a point of view. So I'll explain more what brand strategy means to anybody that's like, what are you talking about? Brand strategy is getting clear on what are your brand values. Like, what are these non-negotiable values that you have, lines that you just don't cross, and also like what your point of view is. Kind of like, what mission are you here to deliver with the world? The mission is delivered through different channels, whether it's coaching, consulting, massage, chiropractic, lymphatic drainage. Like, I'm thinking of all the clients that I've worked with, or like cancer research, whatever. Like, there's so many different avenues, but it's like everyone's here for like a mission. Like, what is a mission that you're here to bring to life? And I've always been connected to my mission, and my mission is really connected to my lived experience. But I only share the relevant parts of my life connected to the mission that I'm here, which is making the right people visible. So I'm only sharing those perspectives. Anything outside of that, like me and my ex-boyfriend who own an Airbnb together, like sometimes I share that, but I'm just like, that's just a part of my life that I'm like, it's just not relevant. And having those guidelines, it's what gives me peace of mind that I can be authentic, sharing relevant stories. But other things that I'm still working through, they're just not relevant to my brand. And I don't stress out about feeling like I'm not going to be authentic if I don't share all those parts, tender parts about my life, or things that maybe sometimes I'm not the most proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think social media is interesting because we've gone through these different like life cycles. Like at first it was basically like over edited shit posting, for lack of better words. Like it was just over edited like stuff that didn't matter, but your friends liked it. And then, as social media grew and people started using it as a marketing platform, there was kind of this like push for extreme vulnerability where people wanted you to say like all the nitty gritty, like, or there was pressure to like air out all your dirty laundry and like really have it out there. And then I feel like we've kind of come more back to like a medium ground where it's like, yeah, you can share those like vulnerable connection points, but like how do they weave into your overall brand story, your strategy, and your life? Like how does that actually fit in there? And people are a little bit more intentional about it. And I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Like, we don't need trauma dumping on the internet.
Yeah. Sometimes I've seen these people like I've just seen like a person with their deceased loved one in a bed crying over holding the hand of their deceased loved one and things like that I'm like, I don't know. I get it. To each their own. But to me, I'm like, that just seems like such a private moment that it's not even to me as like receiving it. I was like, I don't know if this is like in much alignment. It makes me wonder like where your self-respect is type of thing. But
I was just considering that. Yeah. Like, I think if you're listening to this and if you've ever found yourself like oversharing on the internet or feeling like you want to or something, I think it's so important to like come back to yourself for a minute and just be grounded and say like, why am I sharing this? Like, am I sharing this because I want people to notice that I'm going through something hard? Do I like, what is the purpose behind it? Because I bet you'll be able to self-source whatever you're wanting to get from the internet. And like, you're not going to feel better after posting that. You will feel a lot better if you can like self-source whatever you're looking for.
For sure. And I think that by just being so broad, like, oh, just be vulnerable, that's too broad where it doesn't have parameters. And parameters are healthy. They're healthy to like also not feel like we just expose ourselves. And we also, it's also a matter of like showing up regulated. If you are regulated when it comes to your relationship with social, you're going to be authentic in the right times. You'll be a little bit transparent in the right times. It's mostly like an energy of, am I coming here from a place of dysregulation, of expecting to be saved, and kind of like check where your nervous system is at, or am I coming from a place of groundedness? And yeah, that those
Yeah.
two are big differentiators for me.
Yeah, I feel like there have even been times in my personal experience where I've had like something crazy happen or something negative happen. Like I remember when I moved into my house a year and a half ago, like everything went wrong and I kept feeling like I wanted to share it on my stories or with my close friends group, and every time I would go to like type it up, I'd be like, this just feels so negative. Like I don't know why I want people to know. Like I don't know. And then I never ended up posting any of them because I know myself enough to be like, that doesn't feel aligned. I'm not going to post that. But it was interesting to even experience it and be like, why do I want to share this? And it's like, because I'm miserable. Misery loves company. But like in
Yeah,
reality, I just needed to like talk to my husband and say, like, I'm so irritated and frustrated by these things. Like, I
yeah,
didn't need to post it on the internet.
yeah. That's I'm glad you brought that up. Just ask yourself why you need it, and then you're able to be lead yourself to where you actually need to be said. Or maybe the answer could be like, actually, no, my people need to hear this. This is like such
Yeah.
a strong connection point. Like I know, like the way that I think of vulnerable things that I want to share is if I notice that there's like a common struggle with uh my clients that they're struggling with, I'm like, I want to speak to that because I want to make a connection point. Like there's a it's kind of like if I want to build a relationship based on like shared understanding of hard times, that's one thing. But if I just want
Yeah.
attention to be rescued for my own little drama party, I would say that's something that we want to keep private. At least I do.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like you can, as a consumer too, I've followed certain people that constantly feel like, in my opinion, are complaining or are like they're always going through something hard or they're always complaining. And when I'm consuming that content, I'm like, this doesn't like really feel good. And in fact, it's making me sort of view you as like unstable. And that's not somebody that I would want to invest in. So I think all of those experiences help you know what feels good for you to share on your own. And like
Mhm.
I think if you're just conscious of it to any degree, you're not gonna get to that point. Like you're not gonna end up being that person that people view that way if you have any sort of like connection with what you're sharing.
For sure. And I think that the more, like, going back to the topic of our podcast here of like high ticket sales, the more calibrated you get in the work that you're doing, people will figure out like energetically, ooh, what's relevant to be shared and what it's not. But I do want to give people peace of mind that it is possible to be authentic and to not overshare your life. And at this point, being in social media, I'm thinking of myself since I started sharing my work for 10 years now. I just have too much evidence of myself and other people in similar industries that they have grown ginormous businesses by still keeping their private life private. So that's definitely something that is solvable for anybody that is struggling with how much you overshare versus how much you keep to yourself.
Yeah, agree. Okay, so for somebody who maybe they've been DIYing things, maybe they don't have a brand strategy, but they are feeling like they're ready to maybe raise their prices, land those higher ticket clients, what would you recommend that they do?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say like we gotta get you a brand to in order to raise your prices. We don't want to create an objection with okay, so you're charging this much, and but there's like something about your vibe that is maybe not in alignment. I do want to say that people can get traction because at the end of the day, it's who you are being, that it's what will land those sales. But as you grow your business, you want to be able to sell is to a different clientele. So as you start like refining who it is that you're selling to, it serves you to just show up more authentic. Show up, definitely make your face be seen. Allow yourself to do, even if you do a simple brand shoot, make it something where you put intention into it, where it has like your personality that's really shining through with it. I'm trying to think. And if you're doing it yourself, I would say, I don't know. I just think that you're always going to be doing things for yourself in business. I mean, even for myself, I still like shoot stories, and I love showing my raw self through stories. But I think it's definitely the growth is also learning how to be held by another person, how to be seen by another person. And that also will impact your leadership and letting yourself be held in that way by another photographer. So yeah, those are my tips.
Yeah. Like I guess I would ask, if you don't want to, or you feel like not ready to invest in a brand strategy or a brand photographer led shoot, but you do want to kind of recalibrate to that higher ticket client, like, what is stopping you? Is it really
Mm-hmm.
the money? Is it the money really, or is it more so that you don't trust somebody to really do what you want? Like, what is it, you know?
Yeah, such great questions. I think I would say, because I notice this a lot in my clients, people that are waiting to be ready. And something that I want to say is that being ready doesn't ever really exist. You get ready 10 minutes into the shoot, but there's always going to be a little bit of like, ooh, I don't know about this. And I mean, even I feel that way before I do my video content, even before I do podcasts. I'm just like, oh, I don't know. There's still something that like makes me feel like I'm on my toes with like being seen in a different way. But I always, to me, the reframe is like, I'm just only going to get better at public speaking. I'm going to get better at knowing how to hold tension in my body and still do what needs to be done. But definitely welcome that not readiness as an opportunity for growth, because waiting until you're super confident for it is, it's just never going to happen. So
It's so true. I think it kind of connects back to what we were saying earlier in the podcast of like, it's those layers. Like, the first time you might be afraid to be like even in the room with with another photographer, and then the next time you do it you might feel like totally confident in front of the camera, but you're a little bit nervous about like how you're going to implement this. Like, there's just going to be different layers to it as you grow, I think, and that, just like, anticipate that.
yeah, I completely agree.
um okay. Ooh, I would love for you to, like, can you think of any examples off the top of your head? If it takes you a second to get them, no worries. But of clients you've worked with that like their images like directly had an effect on their business, like in a short period of time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have a few. There's definitely one who was a client that they had retired early already. I believe they like reached 40 and they're already like millionaire. And also this is a client that she's like a woman of color. She lived in New York City, which New York City context is very expensive. It's a very challenging city, and she managed, even she wasn't even an entrepreneur, she like worked like a government job, and she happened to figure out how to retire early, and so she was now a coach to help other people with their finances, how to retire early, how to invest, so on and so forth. And to me, I'm just like, you are an outlier. Like, you have made it beyond beyond the odds. I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
despite the odds.
Yeah.
And you are such a leader. But before, they were showing up doing kind of like funny skits, and that their marketing was doing all right. But I noticed that I'm like, oh, we got to show you in your power in New York City, and you being more of a person that you have accomplished something very significant. So with them, we actually ended up doing their brand shoot in New York, and also gave her some videos where she was talking about what she had accomplished. And just through that, she immediately got inquiries, got sales calls booked, just in the way of how she was presenting, that she was finally speaking to a certain demographic. I was in, there's another client, that same thing. She she was a coach that now she was launching, and people loved is her relatability, just getting on the phone, talking to people, telling the stories. But it was once she actually went through a whole rebrand process and we did her shoot, that she had a client respond back to her, oh, I feel like you're now speaking to me in the way that you're presenting, that you're not just speaking to people that are unafraid and like the underdogs. You're now speaking to people that we carry ourselves differently. We want to connect with you on a higher level, not just on the struggle of things. And don't get me wrong, that is definitely a connection point. The other connection point is that people want to see is what your big vision is. And another one that I have so many. So
No, this is awesome. Yeah.
And I'm thinking of a client that she was a healer or is a healer, but she was showing up very much like an influencer. And it's really fun. She still posts content like that of like, get ready with me, or like her with like just in a robe, like on a spa day and like talking to her clients in that way. Although after her brand images, it just showed the businesswoman that she is, that she does work with clients that are like going through cancer. Like she's not just a person that figured out a few healing modalities. It's like, no, I know how to meet you at a higher level. I know how to meet you there too. And it also, what I notice is how clients just shine when they see themselves through video, they see themselves through the images. And it's that identity shift of like, wow, I have had that growth. I am that person. And then that compounds for them to be more confident, to be on more speaking engagements, on making decisions differently in their business, because they're now seeing themselves as a more established person rather than the hustly person who is trying to make it. And it's just a ripple effect when you just like rip off the Band-Aid of thinking that you're not good enough, and all of a sudden the business and your community is responding to how you are showing up differently. And anyway, it's a joy to see. And I'm happy that it impacts my clients in the way they lead, in their revenue, and also how they feel about themselves.
I love that you shared those, and a big thread that I got through all the stories that you shared is that you can never really see yourself the way other people can see you.
Yeah.
And that like the way you've shared that is in such a positive light. Like you're able to look at these clients and be like, yeah, your skits are funny, but like you're so much cooler than that. Like you have so much more to offer than that. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say you can't still do that. You absolutely can. But let's add in this other element so that people can really see and like trust your mission. And I think it's just true for like, it's true for anybody. And I think it's especially true for women in business, because we're constantly perceiving others, but it is really hard to like flip that mirror and be like, but what is it about me that's incredible? Mm-hmm. And not, I don't know. I loved that thread through what you said, it because you're like, and I highlighted this and I highlighted this. And it's like, then that's mirrored back to you. Exactly what you're saying is like that higher version, more embodied, powerful version is mirrored back to you through these like visual assets, which only helps you go even farther.
Absolutely. And another client that actually, as you say that reminded me is one of my clients who, she is a therapist, and she got traction in entrepreneurship that kind of started showing her that she could be a therapist on her own, have her own practice. She's a virtual therapist. And with her, she was doing a lot of the funny skits, and that was like her main way of doing things. And I will say, after we took her through my whole process, her perspective, even as a business owner, immediately shifted once she realized like, oh, I just need to be way more myself, instead of like, what are other therapists doing? How are other people marketing? And all of a sudden she just like, oh, I know my voice. I know how to show up. And even in the videos, we did a little bit of storytelling with her, and it just means the world to me how she said that her clients resonate so much with her story. And that's also what's allowing people to go to her. And also for the relationship between therapist and client to be more playful, rather than usually going to your therapist has been this like clinical or like extremely
Oh, yeah.
formal, dry, like kind of awkward moment to even warm up with a therapist. Rather, with her clients, her brand has truly made it so much easier for her people to confide into her with just not taking yourself so serious. And also, she with her videos of her showing her as a leader, not just as a funny relatable person, but like as a leader in her field, she's also now inspiring other therapists of like, oh, I can also share my story and I can be taken serious. Oh, I can also be fun and I can be taken serious. And she got invited to like another, just like a therapist conference with like another brand that's really well known. And that to me, it just means the world to me how people's leadership starts to grow so much simply because of how they present, and how the way they present in turn impacts their identity to grow into people that are like, no, I'm a leader and I have something to say. And this is what I mean by growth in business. The more you grow in your revenue and leadership, you're mostly looking inwards rather than looking outwards. And I would say that's the biggest behavior change that happens. And keeping that individuality it's just massive in
It
growth.
is. I love that you made the comparison of the shift from like looking outward to looking inward, because it's true. And I think, I don't want to say this is true for every business, but it does feel like that's part of the beginner process. Like when you're a beginner, it's really hard to like self source as a
Yeah.
beginner, because you're not sure, you're not
Mhm.
confident. And in my opinion, I think that that's part of the process. I don't
Oh
think that
yeah.
that's something people skip over. Like you're just
Mhm.
going to be in that phase. Everyone is. And when you're there, like I know when I first started, like I was constantly looking at other social media managers' pages. I was following all of them to like
Same.
learn all the information from them. And I was taking all these like social media manager courses, and I don't regret any of that. But there's a very specific point that I got to when I was like, I need to refine my inputs. And instead of just looking at all these things or trying to get a coach to save me or this course to save me, I need to go inside because I have the information. Like I've
Yes.
learned all this stuff. Like I know how to do it. I just need to go like inside and figure out what my path is and how I want to take all this information and synthesize it and turn it into my own business and my own leadership. And I
Mhm.
don't think, yeah, like I said, I just don't think anyone's able to skip over that beginner part. But I also feel like when you've outgrown that
Oh
and
yeah.
when it's time to like flip and go inside.
For sure. And I think and that maturity will come in business. I will say, I just want to give hope to anybody. Like you will know when you start disagreeing with, like when you see the way also that I know when people are ready for a brand shoot or they're ready to like differentiate is when you're starting to see other people in your industry have very bold takes. And you just think to yourself, I just don't think that. I don't believe that because I have evidence of this way. So once you start realizing, like, no, I don't agree with that. No, it doesn't need to be that way. No, that is your leadership being born, and that's how you are ready to branch out. Is when you feel confident in disagreeing, not in a way where you're like resentful or like have ache feelings for it. Is when you start having that like no that doesn't align, and that's a beautiful thing because that means that your process is starting to come through, and that's how you are maturing as an entrepreneur, as a leader. And yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I love your differentiation of like not from an icky place, like, because I think you can see things people post and be like defensive, like,
Yeah.
no, it's not like that. Or like you can feel bad about yourself. You see it and you're like, it's not like that. Am I doing something wrong? Like, but instead of seeing it through like more of a neutral lens of just like, I actually disagree with that because I know of this other way. And like, I'm just going to choose that way and
Yeah.
not let it really impact you.
And now that you say that too, it reminded me of even how I've matured in my business too. It's that instead of tearing down what other industries are doing or whatever. Just tell people, this is what we do inside my world. This is what else we do. This is what we do. The client will pick up on what other people are doing and what you're doing. But this is such a tiny shift, but even I've had to recently come into it. It's like, instead of talking about what you don't want, talk about just all the amazing things that clients will do inside your world. And important shift that I've had to learn.
It is. That's so funny because this morning I was journaling, and I think the question was like, what would make your soul, business, all the different things feel aligned? Like, what would that feel like? And the first thing that came up for me was like, well, it doesn't feel like this. It doesn't feel like tension in my body. It doesn't feel like a busy schedule. And then I went back to the question and I was like, oh, this is asking what I do want, not what I don't want. So how can I shift those to be like, okay, it feels like softness in my body. It feels like freedom in my schedule. Like those little shifts, they make such a big impact in just how you go forward from there.
Yeah. It also reminds me of manifestation, how where your focus goes, that's what grows. So yeah, it's
So
important to just, yes, mentally acknowledge what you don't want, but pour into what does go on. What is it that you want? And I have to check myself on this every day, but I will say that's been a differentiator in my beginner behavior into my mature behavior.
I love that. It's so good. I love that so much. Is there anything else you want to say about any upcoming offers you have? Like anything like that?
Yeah. Well, so travel is available for me. I feel like that's something that I have to remind people. Sometimes people think that you just go to your local photographer for a shoot, but actually travel is available for me. So for any wellness brands, any mission-led entrepreneurs, I work with various industries, whether it's life sciences, lifestyle brands, wellness brands, or obviously coaching and consulting services are very mission-led. And yeah, so Industry Outlier is my signature offer, and that's where people get is visual assets that are deeply and authentic to them, where it does build on that equity that makes people want to look and want to stay and hear and listen. And then you also receive is thought leadership videos. They're designed to build deeper connection with your audience because people will pay you if they feel connected to you and they trust you in that way. So I like to approach high ticket sales from a connection standpoint, not just talking about your offer. So I'm heavy on selling. And then I also have other offers you can check out in my website if you want to work more at a lower scale. But I would say that's like my signature offer to really get the most out of our experience together. And yes, I'm located in Scottsdale, but also local to Utah sometimes here in the summer. And yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much. It made me think of one other question for you. How often do you feel like people do need new brand and visual assets? Like every year, every era? Like what is it?
At least once a year. Some people will want to like crank out like twice a year. But I would say like the most average is like once a year and just get assets that you don't release all at once, but you release them over a period of time. I would say that's just the most convenient so that you can go back and focus on the things that you are good at. Yeah. And then if you get video work, then that's something that we want to do more consistent since videos could be repurposed, but you do want to give them more time in between. So yeah.
I love that. Amazing. Well, one more question for you before you go. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? This could be in life, in business, just like anything, your younger self.
Yeah. What a beautiful question. I would say that your instincts, like whenever you feel that ick energy or whether you feel excited, like that's correct. For so long, whenever I would come across a person that maybe they had a lot of clout and a lot of like a big social media following and like so many people endorse them. But when I was around them, I was like, oh man, I feel like I'm like improving energy. I feel like I need to prove myself to this person. And in the past, I did prove myself. I did start acting in a way of like, I hope they like me. That now I would just tell her, like, you know what? If it doesn't resonate with you, trust yourself. And that's how you build on your leadership. So I would just say trust your instincts and your deep, deep gut instincts. So powerful. It'll impact you in life and business and anything else that you do.
I love that so much, and it's so true. I feel like anyone can kind of get stuck in that, like wanting to fit the mold of whoever they're around. And maybe it's because they're inspiring, maybe it's because they have something that you want. But there are just so many people in the world that you don't need to bend your frequency to
Yeah.
something that doesn't feel right. It's like, it's hard, but it's also easy. It's like, just don't, because there are so many more people and opportunities. Like, there's just no reason to water yourself down or try to like morph into something that you're not.
Seriously, I've had to remember that the abundance is in my inner child has all the abundance that I ever want. And I just need to connect with her a lot of the time. And if she feels like she is uneasy, then I've just like vowed to listen to her and to like do like, what do you need to feel playful? So yeah.
I love that. Oh my, this is so wild because I feel like this whole week, every person that I have talked to has brought up the inner child in
Ooh,
some capacity. And it's just so funny because I think I might have said this on a previous podcast, I don't know, but I think like when we think of our inner child, we think of like, wanting to go do somersaults in the grass or like coloring or whatever. And all of that is true and good. But ultimately, like our inner child is the wisest version of ourselves. Because
yeah.
when you think of your inner child, they're just like, I don't want that. I do want that. I will do anything for that. Get that away from me. Like they're so discerning with it. It's purely just like energetic alignment with what they do and don't want.
Yeah.
That I feel like connecting with your inner child is so valuable for that like level of discernment that you just brought up.
Yeah, and that's what builds back to what we were talking about earlier. That's what builds your leadership. Once you start realizing like I don't agree with that. Or like there's a better route here. That's how you know. And your inner
Yeah.
child is also who usually feels exposed when we do your brand shoot. It's that like, ooh, I don't know, like the lights are on. I mean, I'm smart, but all of a sudden I forgot my name. Like so I just, anyway, that's why I make that connection too, because also when I'm on set working with people, I like to be very, oh my gosh, so compassionate and gentle to that inner child because we want to let them shine. And that's what makes the visuals so fun to look up afterwards. And when you feel like you're having fun and you're approachable and like you're so yourself. And so, yeah, everything just came together in our conversation. So thanks for having
I
me. It was
love that.
delightful.
Yes, thank you so much for being on and sharing your insight. They're going to love this episode. It's so good. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay, bye.